Hey, yeah. So guys, Ben is the product manager for, actually, do you want to give your official title, Ben? I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, the senior product manager for Legion devices, but mainly focused on the handhelds for North America.
Nice. Yeah. So handhelds in particular, I think are good to talk about here. If you guys have questions, which I think it's his first time on the stream too. So already welcome, Ben, to the stream. Been on the community for a long time, but never on a live stream. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I appreciate being here. I just want to make sure that to answer as many questions as we possibly can. And it's very difficult for you to be an expert on all 50 of the butts and goodies that we announced.
Yeah. So if you guys have questions, again, now's a good time. We talked about processors. There were some questions about the controllers. I don't know if we've been able to talk about that yet.
Yeah, processors. So the Go S is going to have a Z2 Go, which is a custom silicon for Lenovo specifically. So you're going to have a little bit better power consumption, a little bit better performance than what's out there with the Steam Deck, but obviously not quite as high end as the Z1 Extreme. So that's why we also brought that into the Go S as well. So that'll be available a little bit later towards May. And then the Go 2 is going to have a higher end. Definitely looking forward to both of those. I think having the options there is going to be great. We were somewhat limited in options for the Go 1, and now we've got 2 devices, 2 different chips on each one, and then 2 OSs obviously on the Go S, really able to address a much broader range of customers and needs and price points too. So looking forward to getting all these launched as soon as possible.
Awesome. Yeah. And you were, I'm sure, very involved in choosing how these came to market. Can you talk to that at all? Using the community feedback to decide how to take these forward?
Yeah, I'd say in my back pain will tell you that I have been sitting in my chair just basically funneling community feedback from Reddit, from Twitch, from the Lenovo community forums, from everywhere we can possibly get it into the back end team, having those conversations with my counterparts on the global side and just saying, look, this is what we're seeing. This is what people are asking for, having conversations around what we can and can't implement. And I would say the new products were really designed with as much of that feedback. And I'm really not just saying that. It was literally, here are the key concerns in the community. Here's what we can do about them. And I think we've addressed as best we possibly can. Native landscape displays was a big thing. All of the new devices that are coming out are all native landscape. They all have VRR. We did downgrade the resolution a little bit, but that was also driven primarily by community feedback as well. People wanted better performance and questioned why we included the QHD resolution. So I think this is going to be the sweet spot. You've got 97% DCI-P3 color gamut on the display, 500 nits of brightness, full HD resolution, native landscape, VRR, and still keeping that 8.8 inch display, and then 144 hertz refresh. I think it's really the best possible panel you can hope for on the Go 2 there.
Yeah, I'm just highlighting that, so hopefully you guys can see it a little bit on stream as well. But yeah, I was super excited to see the VRR and the OLED as well for sure this year. That was a huge deal. Okay, so I'll try and bring in some questions from chat as well. How will the new Legion Go Z2 Extreme compare? Ben, do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm not sure why we haven't made a bigger deal out of the Z2 Extreme. Believe everything was announced at CES, but I'm expecting the Z2 Extreme to be a massive performance increase over everything else that's out there.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll just be better for that, honestly, Paul. So good question. I see a question about update frequency. Yeah, I imagine with the new wave of products, Saskia, there's going to be a need to support all of them with updates. I don't know if you can give any thoughts on that, Ben, but I think it's probably an ongoing priority for the team.
Yeah, I can't say too much on all of this, but what I will tell you is we are obviously very aware of how big of a priority this is and needs to be. There are certain things that are going on in the global socio-political atmosphere that are imposing significant limitations on certain things that we can and can't do. Everything we can do, we are doing. There's some things that we just literally don't have a way to do right now. Suffice to say, we do take it seriously. We are 100% aware of everything. We've had multiple conversations around driver support, et cetera. The hope is that with some of these newer devices, that's going to be a lot more streamlined, learning lessons from Go 1 and trying to make sure that we remove some of those limitations where possible. Hopefully AMD can just directly release driver updates. The native landscape display will help as well. So stuff like AMD fluid motion frames, that should be a little bit easier to just roll right out, right? There's no special consideration for our panel, that kind of thing, to be able to offer more streamlined updates.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Super Death, you asked about OLED screens. I think it's just the Go 2 that has OLED. Is that right, Ben?
Yeah, so the Go 1 is LCD, 120 hertz, 8-inch, and then the Go 2 is OLED. The main reason is just cost. More expensive to go add OLED to these devices. I want to make sure that the Go 2 and the Go S could live in different price ranges.
Noah asked which Legion Go would be the more powerful, Legion Go S or Legion Go 2? I think it's definitely the Go 2, right, with the configs?
Yeah, the top end of Legion Go 2 is going to be the most performant, but I'd say high end of Legion Go S and low end of Legion Go 2 should be similar. If that's all.
Yeah, that's
going to have more performance and bells and whistles.
I think it's a good question though, because we've been so in the trenches with this for so long. It's good to get your perspective, everybody, on the thoughts here. So we definitely make it clear that the Go 2 has the top end, the higher level there. And obviously the form factor is a big thing too, if you want the all-in-one versus the detachable controllers and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so on the Go 2 controllers, the goal here is to make sure that they're backwards compatible as well, so that if people bought a Go 1 and they want to use the Go 2 controllers, so the aim is to try to make those available to some degree and make sure that the newer controller options are still available for, current customers. You don't have to go buy the whole new device to get them. And then the controllers themselves, a ton of modifications we made. So we got a lot of feedback on the start select location. So we moved those up to the top and then added a couple extra macro buttons on the bottom left. As you can see, pivot D-pad. We improved the RGB lighting around the outside as well to make it a little bit more reflective of the Lenovo brand.
Mm-hmm.
And then, another cool thing to mention about these, at least the plan currently, which may change again, this is a prototype, not everything's final, but inside of those controllers, when you take them off, they each have their own individual USB-C ports, so you can charge them separately outside of the device if you like.
Oh, nice. That's cool. The backwards compatibility is one I've seen a lot of questions on from you guys here, but I wanted to check with Ben to make sure we could talk about that first, because I think that's a pretty common request from people. So good news for those of you who have the base Go 1 as well. Okay, moving through some of the more questions here. The Go 2 fan, is it going to be quieter? I understand that there's so much punch inside, so I would expect no changes. I don't know if you have any thoughts on fan stuff, Ben.
It's bigger and it's more efficient. I don't have a working sample in my hands. I haven't seen one yet. I have mock-ups that I haven't been able to get firsthand. So I don't want to necessarily speak to what I haven't seen firsthand, but modifications definitely were made. It overall is a better fan and thermal solution.
I'd say too that the fan stuff was definitely a community feedback point that we've heard. So I think that there's definitely some thought around that with the design of this one. Question from JS about steamOS. Does it still allow for running Epic Games Store or other launchers? I believe it's just the Steam side, JS, and that's where you might want to think about Windows versus Steam. But Ben, you can correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yeah, I think that's as good an answer as I could have given. Appreciate that.
Do you want to talk to laptop stuff at all? Or like how involved were you versus Mark on the laptop side?
Mark is like the Goodwill Hunting of gaming laptops. Like he knows anything and everything there is to know, and he can phrase the responses very eloquently. But if there's basic stuff like 15-inch, I think I came up earlier on the stream. So that is our first 16 by 10, 15-inch laptop, and it is OLED as well. So we're super excited about that. Just new form factor, a little bit smaller than a 16-inch, but still bigger than the 14-inch. So just, again, giving people options. And so we have high hopes for that one. That'll be broadly assorted as well. So you'll be able to pick that up at your retailer of choice.
Awesome. Yeah, that one is, Mark had just shown it to me actually like last week. So it's pretty cool to see that getting announced as well. Okay, so we'll save some of our laptop ones for Mark, guys, when he's back, hopefully, and try to get some feedback there. I will keep moving through some questions. Noah had one for me on wallpapers. Yeah, we'll try to get the new wallpapers on the site as well, especially the one. I like the one on the Go a lot, as well as the Tab. And then we'll try to get the laptop one up there as well. I'll talk to the brand team about that sooner than later there. What else do we have here? Can the steamOS version of Go S dual boot into Windows? I don't think natively, I'm guessing. You can do what you want to with it after the fact.
Yeah, most likely we will never be able to ship a dual boot from factory, as I think Ben mentioned earlier in the stream, but there will be obviously the possibility to load both OSs, right? So if you buy the Steam, you can go buy Windows and set up dual boot, or vice versa.
Right. Yep. Ryan on YouTube said, with the Go 2, would it be reasonable to run it on one cable directly off of a 45-watt PD monitor? Potentially. I'm not sure if we can answer that just yet, just based on the timing for it, but
you're going to need at least 65 watts to run these. So I'd say probably not.
There you go.
Understanding correctly.
Yep, I think that's the question there. I see a question on glasses. I think that's more for our accessories team. So I'll see, but I think you can use prescription lenses with them. I think with the current gen you can. Yeah.
There's I used to be the product manager for that for a little while for the first one, and I believe they carried into the second one, but they've got little clips that you can take to Lens Crafters or wherever, but put in there and slide right into the glasses.
Very nice. Is HDR going to be available on Go 2?
Yes.
There you go. Easy one there. What else do we got here? Again, guys, keep in mind, right now we're looking at the handheld questions more specifically. We'll try and get the laptop ones in the future here. Speakers on the Go 2. Ben, do you have any?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, you have thoughts on the speakers?
Yeah, so audio was another big piece of feedback that we got on the first device. Took some steps to improve those. So they are bigger speakers. We're looking at potentially Nahimic audio just as an enhancement. And then the Go S, obviously, user-facing, front-firing, and bigger. So hopefully see some improvements on both devices from an audio perspective.
Very nice. Yeah, I think I saw a couple images of the Go 2 at CES, at least the prototype version where they're much bigger. So that's pretty cool to see. Okay, keep moving through the questions here. Why has Lenovo opted to offer a Z1 Extreme version of the new Go S? Do you have thoughts on that, Ben?
Another great questions. Price is important, which is why we have the Z2 Go, and performance is also important, which is why we have the Z1 Extreme. So again, it's all about giving customers as many options as possible. And again, we were looking at just the Z2 Go, and I know it's too branded, but it's significantly less performant than the higher end Z2 options, but obviously we're able to hit lower price points with it. So everything is basically a trade-off, but I wanted to make sure that for those that liked the form factor of the Go S and the design and all the other features, that if they didn't want to compromise that much on performance, we could still do a Z1 Extreme, and those two share a socket, whereas the Z2 doesn't necessarily. So that was really the only option for better performance, put that chip in there. Pretty well received still.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great context. These are the kind of questions I like having you around for. How much smaller are the Go 2 controllers? It's all in one, so it's not like they're a separate controller, but I think it's 8.8 versus 8-inch screen, right? I don't know if the controller is really that different. Ben, you have any thoughts there?
I think the question is more around the Go 2.
Oh, yeah.
The Go 2 controllers are actually bigger. They're longer, but they're more ergonomically flattened. And the buttons, you can't really see in some of the pictures, but the buttons are all separated as well. So there's no, that right bumper used to be connected to two buttons. Now they're separate, and they're a little bit smaller, and they're a little bit better positioned. So they're going to feel less clunky while you're using it. And then those chamfered edges on the bottom are, I think, what most people care about and was our primary.
Yeah, they're so interesting because it seemed like people who had really big hands liked the current one, but then smaller hands had a difficult time with the angular edges of the first Go. So I'm curious to see how the feedback is for these. But overall, the backwards compatibility is also huge.
Yeah, that was a big point for us as well.
I think I've seen a lot of the actual Go questions so far. Any chance we can get a small flip cover or a small case for the Go 2? I don't know if we can talk accessories yet that are new, but I know that the accessories team is still working on a couple things. The bag was on here, but I think that's all we've announced so far.
Yeah. One question from Fidget Ice, but I see the V1 Extreme, is it going to have a SteamOS variant?
Yeah.
There will be multiple Steam SKUs available in North America.
Awesome. What ballpark price range can we expect the Z2 Extreme devices to start at? I don't know if we can comment on it just yet. Yeah, but as soon as we can.
Right.
Yep. How can I get Ben's job? I need to work for Lenovo. Which one? You got two Bens here.
I'm sure a majority of you could probably do my job better, but it's a little bit more involved than it may seem on the outside too. So just bear that in mind.
Yes, they all are. Memo, you asked when are we planning to release the Legion Go 2? I don't think we have a date time frame to release with you just yet, but just sometime this year is my understanding.
Yeah, as soon as humanly possible, once the quality is there as well.
Yep. Paul said the Z1 Extreme option will offer better performance than the Z2 Go chip in the S.
Correct.
There you go.
From a pure frames performance standpoint, yes. From a power consumption, there's power and performance curves. I think the Z2 Go performs a little bit better on the low end, and then the Z1 Extreme performs a bit better on the high end. So really, do you care about price and optimizing your battery performance with acceptable frame rates, or do you really want just the max and then have a portable battery on hand if you need it? Deal.
There you go. Sketches of Harmony, that's an awesome name, said, is there likely to be a white SteamOS version? I think it's just the Windows that's white. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Windows is white. Steam is Nebula Violet, which is a super cool color. And super excited to have that in the mix there. So there will be paths to get different colorways on different versions of products if that's really desired.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So they look the same roughly. So interesting. We'll see if we can update that for you guys as we get closer.
One thing to mention too on the color is the pictures make it look a little bit less subtle than it is. If you see these in person, it's almost hard to tell it's purple. It looks grayish until you get it in the right light. It's a really cool effect and a really cool color. So really looking forward to getting it like in the hands of reviewers, influencers, customers, etc. in store.
Nice. Yeah, I'm curious to see that one too, because from what you've said, it's pretty interesting in person. Lenovo released a recovery image for the Legion Go OG. If yes, when the beta be released? You talking about the current version of the Go? Jays, they can give some more info maybe. Do you have any info on availability outside of North America? Ben is the North America product manager for the Go. I don't know if you have any knowledge on out of North America, Ben, but we can try to get more info there as well.
I do know we're obviously planning to release outside of North America, but I again, I don't want to step on Sergey or Clifford's toes. Those are my counterparts in other geographies, but they've been heavily involved and have some solid plans to launch these devices as well, I believe.
Yep, totally understand. We'll try to connect you guys with not just North America because the community is global, but the other product managers from those regions as well. Because it seems like I already thought it was black actually when it was being.
It is really funny to watch all the leaks and nobody noticed it was purple. I got one of these in the mail, a mock-up, and actually had to take it in and show the rest of my family. I'm like, what color would you say this is? And they were like, oh, that's definitely gray. And then I realized I was actually holding a gray mock-up and there was the purple one next to it. Yeah, it is purple. It's Nebula Violet. Really cool color, really low-key and subtle. Makes it feel special and premium. So
awesome. Yeah, I love I love when we do custom stuff like this that's a bit more unique. Even like the white laptops have a similar effect, but I like the unique stuff like that.
So the white is the same color as the white.
Oh, nice.
The Legion Slim 7, 7i, and then the Go S.
That should hopefully be the one I have here soon to show people. I'm just waiting on UPS to deliver it right now. We'll see. Let's see. You're in the tech side for government? Is that, I think I'm reading that right, Army vet? And your product testing on the side, you've tested 15 Legion Go's and your personal device is a Go. That's really interesting. I think Ben is working pretty closely with some really avid community members on testing. I don't know, Ben, do you have any requests for feedback from people that we can kind of route to you ahead of time? I don't imagine we have units to send out yet, but or people. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I also didn't mean to, I guess, witch bomb your stream or whatever you call it, flying in here uninvited.
No, this is fun. This is cool.
Yeah, the feedback. So obviously I've been on Reddit quite a bit, scraping some feedback. I've been on the community site, scraping some feedback. We do have within Legion Space, there's a direct form that says contact us, a text box, and you can write whatever you want in there. All of that is, every single one of those submissions are personally reviewed by our development team. So every Thursday night, in fact, tonight, we get on a call with all the engineers, the software team, myself, and other counterparts, and we go through and say, here's what people are asking for, here's what they're saying. All that stuff is getting directly into our development teams. I do have a fantastic group of people that have been with us from the beginning. They've got all the history, a lot of them under NDA, that kind of thing, to go try to get some additional insight from general users and customers. Highlight of my career probably is just dealing with those people. All of the feedback is very much appreciated. There's just, there's only so much that we can do stuff with, but when a lot of it is aligned and similar, we can group those requests together and try to use that to get momentum to make change.
Awesome. Yeah, I think the group of people have been really interactive with the future device has been super nice. Obviously, all you guys giving feedback is huge in the community. And I'm pretty proud because I think our Legion Go group, I feel like this device has also just been so tied into community feedback. I said this earlier in the stream, but in a way it's different from the laptops or desktops, right? Because it's such a new category. So definitely keep it coming. And if we have opportunities, I mentioned this too, like with creators or people who want to do reviews and things, I'll see what we can do around that in the future once we get closer to this stuff coming out, basically. Josh Ring said, will the analogs on the Go 2 be Hall effect? I think the current ones are Hall effect, but the future ones will be 2, right, Ben?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question. The Legion Go 1, Hall effect joysticks and Hall effect triggers, which often get overlooked. Same thing with the Go S and same thing with the Go 2.
Boom, there you go. Also, hi Dweeble, I see you in chat asking for samples already. So the controllers on the Go 2, is it the same setup like the snap-on style on the first Go? If so, I am sold. Take my money. That was your question.
Same rail designs, obviously improved versus the Go 1, just from a reliability standpoint. But yes, the rail designs are largely unchanged, same connection mechanism, but as many improvements as we could fit in there. And then again, backwards compatibility was, a huge point of emphasis for us as well.
Awesome.
So not just on the device, but the controller bridge that we just announced as well should work on both sets of controllers.
I think there's like a hands-on, it's in like a glass cage. But you can see it demoed there at CES, which is pretty cool. Okay. Anything else here? Would there ever be a Legion Go series product with an EMR stylus support? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that one, but I think
it's a good question. The stylus support has been a frequent request. The reason it's not going to be on any of these devices is just cost. So at the end of the day, we're trying to make the best device for the target customer, and there are some fringe use cases for it. People want to use the Go as like a gaming / note-taking device, or they want to use it for other things specifically. Reality is, I don't want to charge all of my customers for something that only some of my customers are going to benefit from. The product management's all about trade-off, and it's one of those things where, if everyone was using it for this, then it would make a little bit more sense to offer it as well. Yes, I could put a 1200 watt PSU in every desktop, right? But it costs a lot to do that. And if I'm putting a 50/50 card in there or a 40/50 or whatever it is, it just doesn't need that much wattage. And yes, it would be there to support upgrades in the future, but 10 or 15% of the people are going to benefit from that upgradability. I don't want to charge 100% of customers for it. So same thing with the pen. It definitely would be nice to have on there, but it's just one of those things where the cost doesn't justify the benefit for.
That makes sense. All the features like that are just a matter of adding cost versus who's going to use it. That makes a lot of sense. This is the back end stuff that you guys don't see for the product management side of what goes into the device. So it's cool to lift that a little bit. Thanks, Ben. Okay, a couple more coming in here. Demonic said, what's the max wattage for the handhelds? Say if I was to deploy across the pond, would I be able to plug the Go's or Go 2 in without seeing the magic smoke?
Not entirely sure I follow the question. The 65 watts is basically what you need for Go S and the Go 1. I believe it should be similar for the Go 2. Whatever we ship with the adapter can handle 110 to 240 volts. And then the wattage, and that's as long as you're using the adapter that's shipped with the device and it plugs into the outlet, you should be fine.
Paul asked, for people who enjoy modding their tech, how easy will it be to upgrade and replace parts for the new handheld lineup? So I guess there's different ways to do that, but we talked a little bit on storage. That's the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, so storage, obviously replaceable. Memory is still be soldered. Again, it's just because it lets us make the devices thinner, and it improves battery life as well. It's like 5X that we have in there. I don't think there's sewed-in memory. Somebody can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but it's all done with the best experience in mind. And then now these will be available in 32 gig options as well. So it's a little bit less necessary to go upgrade the memory. On the storage side, again, that was a big point of contention for us. All of the geography product managers, the global product managers were like, a lot of people are taking these apart. They're trying to upgrade the SSDs. How do we make that easier? How do we give people more options? And obviously supporting 2280 form factor was big. So these will ship with the 2242. And again, it's just mainly for cost because those drives fit in so many different devices. So if we just buy those, we can get better cost on them and then put them in all the devices. But then if you want to upgrade, if you buy a 2 terabyte or whatever, and if you want to put that in there, there will be space for the 2280 on both devices.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Again, that context is so helpful because I feel like it's easy to think about stuff like that. But what you mentioned of having to buy in bulk and across various devices and even like slimming the device down and battery life, those are things I think people don't always know are involved in things like that. So I appreciate the context there.
One thing I'll mention too on the Go 2 that I don't believe was mentioned anywhere or hasn't been called out necessarily. We do have plans to add a fingerprint reader to that as well. So that's another thing that people have asked for. Having the biometric login should be a pretty good upgrade for you as well.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. I think I heard some back and forth on that, so that's cool to hear that's coming. Noah, you said RGB on the controllers of the Legion Go S and Go 2 looks like it has 2 colors. Is that true or is it just a glance? So I think you can customize the RGB in space, right?
Yeah, the RGB are the full 16 million color gamut, whatever it is. There's a slider. You can make them any color of the rainbow or outside of the rainbow that you like.
Yeah, so that's currently supported on the current Go as well, Noah, but that should carry over to the new generation products as well. Will the detachable controllers ever be sold separately? Yeah, Gaming Gnome, that was mentioned earlier. They will be compatible with the base Go as well, which is super cool. And the connector too, which is great. What settings need to be changed to get Madden football to play smoothly on the Legion Go? I don't think that's a Go 2 or Go S specific question, Steve, but definitely jump in the community and we can help you optimize it if that's what you're trying to play on the current Go as well.
Check out Deck Wizard on YouTube. I believe he has a settings tutorial for Madden specifically. I think it was for Madden 24, but it probably applies to 25 as well.
There you go. Check out, yeah, Deck Wizard's awesome with having every game that comes out. He has how to run it on the go, which is great. Now you talk about storage. What is the max storage you can handle? Say a 4 terabyte SSD or more. Do you know anything about storage limits, Ben?
Yeah, so you got to be careful of what you plug in there. If you go buy like a super top of the line Gigamax kind of SSD that needs 15 watts of power and you just plug it in there, it's probably not going to work great. In terms of storage size, I don't think there's a limit from our hardware. I think the limit would be more on the OS side, potentially 4 terabyte. And again, don't quote me or come to me with a receipt if it doesn't work, but it should work if you buy like a 4 terabyte SSD within the spec range that the device can handle. But I'll try to get some more details on that as well, just in terms of what the wattage that can be supported. I'm also trying to figure out if it can support double-sided SSDs or just single-sided. So sometimes there's a standoff on the motherboard that lets us screw in the 2242. And if it's single-side, the 2280 can sit right on top of it. But if it's double-sided, you have to take off the standoff, and I believe you can, but I need to open one production unit up and check it out when I can.
Okay, got it. Good question, Noah. I appreciate that. I think that is most of the questions that I see, besides some of our employees in chat saying, can we make this a new official employee work device? I'd be all for that if we can. I'd love to see. Make that happen. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. Ben, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add on these devices. There's been a lot of discussion already, and I really appreciate you jumping on here to talk through some direct questions from people.
No, I appreciate the opportunity again. Didn't mean to jump in here, but appreciate the community as well. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is driven by feedback, and it sounds like a platitude or whatever you call it, but it's really the truth, and done this without the support of the community. So again, thanks to everybody for helping us make these products better.
Yeah, of course. And I don't mind it. Honestly, I think this is one of the coolest things we can do to make it more interactive for people than just another marketing thing. Getting to talk to the person behind the product hands-on is a super cool experience.
Let's do it again sometime.
Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off with Ben, but if you have questions in the future, let us know. We can get some feedback in the community as well. So thank you again, Ben. Appreciate it, man. All right. See you.